Hello and welcome to this podcast with Young and Awakening. And today it's me, Matilda Lerche, and together with Ximena Veliz. And we're so excited to be here today and to talk together on this podcast. And I'm just going to share with you a few words about Ximena before we get started. So Ximena has over 20 years of experience as a transformational multicultural coach, working with clients all over the globe. Her biggest passion is to help others connect to their emotional well-being and realize their highest potential by rewriting their story and embracing their journey. Ximena was co-owner of Life Motivation Center, a center for well-being and personal development in Geneva, Switzerland. And prior to working in the field of human development, she worked with multinational companies and in private banking. She's a certified life coach, a HYL coach, clear beliefs, non-conflict coach, and a trainer, as well as a Reiki master. So really a lot of different modalities you're working with. And besides that, you're fluent in Spanish, English, and French, right, Ximena?
Yep.
And welcome. Today we're gonna talk about teens, so I completely forgot to say that. So Young and Awakening is a podcast for and about spiritually awakening teenagers. So if you haven't seen any of our podcasts before, this is what we're going to talk about. So Ximena is going to enlighten us about her work and how she applies that to teens. So Ximena, I have a question for you. Do you have anything you want to say?
No, just thank you for having me here. I love what you're doing, and I'm very, very happy to be able to bring my little grain of salt to put in here.
Yeah.
So I'm happy. Thank you.
Thank you. We're so happy to have you as well. Okay, so we're just gonna go straight into the questions. So you're doing a lot of things and have a lot of years of experience with this, working as a transformational coach. And can you share a bit about how you came to work with the exciting work that you do?
Okay, well, it's because of what happened to me in my youth and in my life that I got curious. I started to be curious about why I wasn't feeling well, why I was always feeling different from everyone else, why I was feeling weird. I was just not normal. Everybody else is normal and I wasn't. So that's how it began. I began asking questions, reading books. And then as I came out of my own depression that I had, it's like in a way, it gave me the I could not do something with it. It's like, oh gosh, I'm learning things that people should know. And I just wanted to share it. So when I was 24 and I already had a son, I was very depressed and I went through a divorce and it was just terrible. So I felt like I wanted to end my life and I just didn't want to live anymore. And I got out of it. So, and to me, it's like, oh my gosh, what about all those people that are feeling like that? And I became passionate about trying to show them that there's another way, which is the way that I found. That's how I got to then study coaching and this and that and different modalities, because I really believe that one doesn't work for everyone. So I was learning different things and different modalities that I could use and try to get to teach it.
That's beautiful. Yes, I think so many can relate to that, even in smaller or bigger ways, having this, as we call it, dark night of the soul. That is like what many people call it, and really have this deep dive, but really beautiful, also turning it into helping others and helping them to go through that experience and come out really more enlightened and stronger. I really love that. And you spent some years in Geneva as well. So you've been living in many parts of the world and also using that in your work, the knowledge about different cultures.
That absolutely. I mean, I'm Chilean, so I was born in Chile, and I speak Spanish, and we have a way of, Latino style. And then I went to the US, and then I moved to Geneva because I was married to a Swiss. So yeah, learning different cultures, adapting. And Geneva also is it's a very cosmopolitan place because the United Nations sits there. So there's very international, and you meet people from all kinds of places and different countries and different cultures and different languages. And I think that was part of the reason why also it's something that I knew, but it became so clear that we're all the same, that we're all equal, that we're all just humans, but oh, that one speaks like that. Oh, they eat like that. So it's like, but it's just, as I said, curiosity. It's like, oh, wow, without the judgment, just start looking at people as humans like you, and that changes also. It's been beautiful. I mean, my whole ride has been great.
Yeah, that's so amazing. Yeah, because I can imagine that also when we're approaching teens, they have a much more what you call international background, often many of them. So to have lived, at least from the media, from being connected to the internet, many young people have a lot more knowing about other countries and have traveled much more than they used to do. So I assume that would be really an advantage to know how it works in different parts of the world.
That's interesting what you just said, because it's true that now they are traveling without traveling physically, but they are connecting with people all over the world. So it is almost kind of like the same. They're meeting through the internet. So it's a different, source of how you get there. But I love it. I just think, yeah, I never thought of that, but it's true.
Yeah, because if I see like my grandmother's generation or even my parents' generation, they are much more like similar in just that area and this geographically area. And now I see also people all over the world that you're able to speak to and communicate with and understand you because they're really on the same frequency.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah. So what I really would like to know also, so you might have answered this a little bit, is if there's anything from your own teenage years that really had the importance of was important for you to choose to work in spirituality and coaching. So you touched upon that a little bit, but is there more, like what was your experience as a teen? How did you see yourself? And yeah, that's a big question. What could you have used as a teen? Which
yeah, it's great because it was the basis. When I look at it, it was the basis of why I felt so horrible at 24. So I had to kind of go back to what happened to me that I feel so horrible today when I was 24. And then I started going back, and I always had this just feelings. For example, Ximena, you're an idiot. And it was stuck in my head from my childhood already. That was like, oh, Ximena doesn't know how to do that. Just do it for her. Or Ximena does. And it's like, it just, that repetition of it just simply became who I was in a way. So when I was really the first time I wanted to just not exist anymore, I was 14. At 14 years old, I was just like, I was born in Chile. And then I lived with cousins, and my parents divorced. And it's kind of like a lonely place, kind of like you're on your own, even though you're together with your cousins. But in my head, I was kind of like alone. And I think different, but they're thinking that. And I was like, I started to become really quiet. So anyway, by the time I was 12, we moved to Florida, to Miami. From Chile to Miami, where my mother was. And the bullying there was horrible because I spoke Spanish. So Americans didn't like people who spoke Spanish because at that time there were many Cubans coming into Florida. So I got bullied a lot and called all kinds of names that you, whatever, Cuban. And I was like, I'm not Cuban. And he's like, but you speak Spanish. And I was like, but there are other countries that speak Spanish. At 12 years old, trying to defend myself. And then I started isolating a lot. I didn't want to be with them. So, I mean, little things like that just completely changed my course, but I think if I would have stayed in Chile, I would have grown up, more like everybody else. So anyway, but my story became, I am not like everybody else. I'm different. I'm weird. And that everything showed it to me that I was weird. Already in my beginnings, where my parents divorced and we were living with grandparents, which was like, that's weird. Oh, you're weird. So it became this constant feeling of inadequacy, where whatever I did wasn't the right thing because everybody else is doing it differently and I'm not doing it different like that. And so that feeling of just not being okay with who I am became really, really strong. So obviously, when I went through my own depression and I started looking at all those things, I started realizing how my story was written. And that's why this whole thing about rewriting the story.
Yeah, so that's really exciting, Ximena, because I can imagine a lot of teens sitting out there and can really relate to your experience, but have no clue about what to do about it, because that is their reality still. Feeling inadequate, feeling no friends, feeling as an outsider or not smart enough, not clever. And that really relates to some of the questions I'm going to ask you later, because I really love to hear your guidance on some of those things. For some of the people, some of the things that are still in this experience. So you came out of it, you started to dig deep and really just start to see the truth of it. So what did you arrive at? What wisdom did you? So what am I referring to? What happened when you then was rewriting your story? What happened when you saw that you were not inadequate? How did you end up feeling then?
Well, I have to jump back and forth a little bit, because it took me a very long time. Because my depression lasted a long time. I felt very lonely. There were many other. There's the difference between working with adults and working with teens. And that's because it took me a very long time. And that because I was older when I started looking back. This is why, to me, it became like, no, we should teach this to kids already so that they don't go through that, because it can't be avoided. Or you can't, like, if you rewrite your story when you're 17, when you're 16, God, you only got this few years to rewrite, and it's easier. If you find that when you're like 30, 40, you can still do it, but there's so much work, so much more work. And that's what happened to me. It was a lot of work, because you have a lot of years with experience, with repetition, because kind of like whatever you believe in, you do, that it takes longer. So, and I can't remember the question now.
Yeah, but I really like that point. So when you then arrived at, because clearly, so if you feel like inadequate or feel wrong or like an idiot, what happens when you rewrite the story? What do you arrive at? What feeling do you then feel just adequate, or can you expand a bit on that? How does it show up in your world?
Okay. No, okay. What I had to understand was that it was not my story. It was the story they wrote for me, where I was put, what I was told. But I knew inside of me that something was right. It's like kind of, I knew somehow, but my programming, I call it the programming, because the way that they talked to me, the way that, and everything that happened to me made it clear that, yes, I was inadequate. Yes, I was weird. So to get to that, but wait, what if everybody is weird? And in the end, we're all just fine the way we are. And we keep on telling ourselves that we're not, and we're kind of like putting ourselves down, putting our energy down, putting our, instead of just acknowledging who we are and accepting that and embracing that and being that. What if we all have a gift that is amazing, and we just keep on crushing it down because we want to be the way that everybody else is? And that's not going to work. So, but to me, it's like there's a progress in the understanding and how to get there. You don't just get there by saying, oh yeah, I'm fine, everybody else is. No, it's a process of acknowledging, seeing it, accepting it, and then looking at yourself with the beauty that you are, because everybody is. So that took a while, but that's what I love to teach to young kids. Is like, wait, maybe that thought that you're having there is just somebody else's thought. Maybe, the teacher said it.
I really love that, Ximena. I really love that point. That's so important, because I think for many it takes really a long time to realize that I mean, not as a teen, not many teens would have realized that it's not their own thought, that it's not the truth of who they are, that they can just change it by rewriting this and really find out what they would like to think about themselves, what they would like to experience. So my next question was actually if there's anything that you would have liked to know as a teen that you know now. I would say what you just said. I would have loved to know that. But is it the same for you?
It is. I would have loved to have known that I was born with everything already. I wish somebody would have said, Ximena, you came with a whole package. Just go with it. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. Have a great life. Enjoy it. I wish somebody would have said that to me, and it would have changed everything. It would have completely changed everything.
Yeah, so I remember we had when we had this conversation leading up to this podcast, we also talked about the importance of honest grown-ups in your life as a teen, that how rarely you hear from any grown-ups the truth. So that would have been the best gift to give to you as a teenager, to any teen, to just the words you just said there. And I'm thinking, wow, that it's really magical, the moment that parents are in that position that they can really say that, because it's about being honest to themselves. And if they don't feel that themselves, it's right. A long way, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I totally understand, because you got to understand where they're coming from. They're coming from a place of caring. They care about their kids, the parents, and they want the best for them. So they're coming from their own experience, trying to say, but you should do it like that. That's going to be better for you. So it's coming from the heart. But in fact, it could have been better for you, but not for me. So it's like, I remember with my own son, I always said, what do you feel? What do you feel? What do you want to do? But Mom, what would you do? It doesn't matter what I would want to do. What do you want to do? How does it feel for you? So it was really about teaching him how to go ahead, trust you. You got it. You got the answer. You don't need me to give it to you. You have it. Go inside, be curious, check inside and see how it feels.
Wow, that's so beautiful. I really love that. Yeah, because that's the next generation parents who know that, who feel that, and who can really speak those words to their kids. But there might be many teens out there who are not in that experience of having awakened parents.
No.
But who might be awakening themselves. And those are the ones listening to this, I imagine, and really want to know, what are the other potential? How are the other parents out there? How could my life be different? And then I can rewrite my story, right?
Right.
So one thing I would really like to know is, what do you see? Is there a difference between coaching grown-ups and to coaching teens?
Huge. What I said before about, a teen is fresh. To me, it's like they're eager to want to understand. They're much more open to want to understand. When I coach an adult, it's much more, I already know that. And I was like, okay. It's more of a, I have so much more life experience and I have already tried that, or I have already known that, or so it's harder in that sense. A teenager, I love when a teenager, it's kind of like going to school and it's learning. And it's like, so, and there's curiosity about, so if I do that, or if I don't think like that, that would be, and it's like, they're ready to learn. And that's why I say everything in personal development should be taught in schools.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I hear you say is also they're much faster at changing their stories or their perceptions and perspective on things, or willing to open them and not be stuck. Yeah,
willing. I mean, it's, imagine there's a search. In any case, there's a search of understanding, of wanting to understand. They're going from child to adult. They're looking at to what am I going to be in terms of an adult? I mean, I'm here and I'm I mean, it's inevitable that there's a passage from one to another. So all that moment is incredibly beautiful in a way, because they're searching. And if they get the right tools to be able that they can be in the most amazing adult and be happy, which is our in my opinion, what we're looking for is to be happy. Yeah. To be like, wake up in the morning and feel good and be happy. So, and if they understand that, oh, that makes me happy, so yeah, I think that they're at the time where it's much easier for them to understand, get to know themselves better than at any other time later. Still, we can do it, but it's easier. It's beautiful. I just like, I get all passionate because like, I love the passion that young people have when they get curious.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and what I'm thinking too in adults, like adults can be so willing to transform and take on a new story or expand the story, but there are some mechanisms like making it much more tight, or feel so much more difficult rewriting that story, because it's like it's so old that we don't even see it as adults. Mm-hmm. Like there are so many things that's in place for us. Yeah. So is there anything when you look at the experience you have with the coaching teams, is there anything that you see them really needing today, and also your experience like in your private life, is there anything that you see that they really need in this day and age?
Confidence.
Yeah,
I think they need confidence. Right? The one thing that I do believe that helps them incredibly is be curious. But then confidence is what they're lacking. And I think social media has a lot to do with it. There's so much comparison. There's so much, I want to be like that. Oh, but look at them. And they're not looking at themselves. That is what is happening, is that they're looking outside and they're not looking inside. And everything is inside. It's like, turn it around. Just like turn it around. Look inside, because everything that you want to feel, because everything is a feeling, and they're not understanding that. They're not understanding that we are guided by our feelings. So if you're looking outside and you're looking at somebody else being incredibly beautiful or whatever they're like appreciating from someone else, their talent, their beauty, whatever it is, their success, they're immediately feeling jealousy and they're feeling judgment towards themselves. It's an immediate feeling, unfortunate. And that's how they're living. They're living looking out all the time. So all those feelings are being created. And obviously there's unhappiness. So they got to look in. That's like, look in.
That's
where
the gold is to be found.
That is the gold. It's inside. It's never outside. It's always in there. But I don't think they know how to.
Yeah, and that really fits perfect with my next question, because I would really love if you could give an example of this. For example, I was thinking, what if a teen has anxiety around school and performance, but it could also just as well be about how their appearance or how they are. What if they're feeling anxiety around this or not enough? Maybe you have some examples yourself.
Well, I honestly think that for anyone, no matter what it is, if it's beauty, if it's being smart, intelligent, being able to get the best grades or not, and the other person gets it. It's all about, first of all, you're comparing yourself to somebody. You are. You're not just being you, happy with who you are and happy with where you get it to go. That's just, if they simply understood that you're feeling inadequate right now because you must be comparing yourself. Just check it out. Take a deep breath and look outside. What are you thinking that he got it? And it's like, okay, that is the one that is creating the issue immediately. So I have one example when I think I told you about just this was younger. It was, I don't remember the age that this kid had, but he, poor thing, he just super smart, good grades in school, paid attention, everything was great. But the moment they had an exam, he would fail his exams. He would get so nervous that he needed to perform really well that he would fail every time. He would sit in front of his paper and start like blocking, like, I don't remember. And even though he had studied like the whole night, and then in front of his paper, everything was disappearing. And just learning that biologically, if you stop breathing properly, the oxygen doesn't go to the brain the same way, and you get so nervous that it is normal that you're going to forget everything. It's normal. So what it takes? Breathing, calm your body, calm your system, let the energy start flowing, and then calm. You're going to get the results. And he did. He learned how to breathe, and then he was doing his exams, and it's like, okay, I'm going to, and he learned how to like calm, and then just, okay, right there with your paper, just like if you're at home, just breathe regularly, do the exam. And it's just little tiny things. It's like, it's not that you're an idiot, because he was like, I'm an idiot every time I go there, and I feel so stupid. Not at all. But he just needed to learn that, his body does that without him knowing it.
I think many can maybe also relate to that if they have other situations where they are anxious or nervous, like around friends. If you have difficulties or feel that it's difficult to be around friends or get new friends, and you feel you're not yourself when you're around these people, you're all getting all anxious, that really understanding like the connection to the body and the breathing is so important in order that's like the first step to maintain your peace and stay connected to all your abilities, your brain, all of yourself, right? You're gonna lose connection with yourself if you're not present in your body. And breathing.
It's just I mean, if they don't want to get, because I work with all kinds of teens, and there's different religions that have to play a role in there, different beliefs, so some people, if you talk to them, you got to stay connected. They're like, what is connected? So it's like, what are they talking about? It's just, if you go just by the nature of our body, you do have to breathe properly.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody's having an anxiety attack, they're not breathing properly. What are they thinking? So it's different little things that once they get the tips, they'll know how to manage. It's all about knowing knowing how your body functions. Like what you just said, it is so common for kids to feel like, oh my God, there's the group and here I come. I can't walk there. Like, oh my God, they're all going to look at me and I can't do it. And, and it's just like, oh, it's a horrible feeling. So it's learning what is happening. You got to go to like, what is happening? That's why I say, to teens, get curious. Don't immediately judge yourself. Be curious. Why is that happening to me? Why am I acting like that? What's happening? There's always a reason. There's always something going on there that is creating that. And it isn't your fault. It's just something is happening.
Yeah. So what I feel when you're talking about that, and that is actually a really good example. So when you walk up to this group and you feel like all anxious and have all these ideas. So that really brought me to, if a teen experience this, having this feeling around not having friends, just being isolated at home, maybe feeling a bit bullied or just as an outsider, how would you advise them to change the story? Because I know that is really what you do, really help them to change their stories. Can you give an example around that, and let me know if it's not a good example, if you would like to use if you want to use another case. But I found this could be really interesting for some to hear.
I don't know if I want to use a case or not, but because there's so many and it's always the same. So it's mainly, I can tell you what I would say to them more than if we have a teenager that is feeling, maybe because of their appearance, it's different. If you live in a country where everybody is one color and then you're a different color. Like what happened to me, I spoke Spanish in a country where people don't speak Spanish. Usually they speak English. And then you see them all the same because they grew up with the cheerleaders and the football players, and you got those groups that are like, and you're not, and you're weird and you're strange. But sometimes in class, it makes it that you need to work with them. Or what I would say really is that the first thing that you gotta, I don't know how to put this, is like, I'm getting all like, blah, blah. I think this we're gonna cut here. I'm sorry, but a teenager, when is feeling inadequate because of anything, because of the color of their skin, because of their language, because of their religion, because of where they're coming from, it doesn't matter what, or just because they're not as pretty as the girl in the in the magazine, that immediately, if they're not feeling okay and they're feeling very stressed about going towards them, they got to understand that in their own self already there's there's a judgment about them, and they need to understand that, and that's coming from them.
Yeah, so really understanding that, what I hear you say is to really understand that if you're feeling outside or wrong, then you have already created inside of your story that you're wrong.
Right, and that's what I mean.
No matter who, if you're a teen or an adult, it's like
it is.
Yeah.
So the first thing when we are going to rewrite our story is like, and that's what when I do the course, I said, okay, write your story now. What does it look like? Write it. Right away that you have it. Yeah. What is it? So once you write it, you're going to realize what you're saying. Just blank piece of paper. I am blah, 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 and you just write it. And when they look at what they've written, there's full of judgment in there. It's filled. And it's full of, so I'm really, a lot of it is like, the parents have said that you talk too much. And I talk a lot. Where I'm like, oh, and I can never shut up. Like there's always like judgment about who they are. And then we go and we take the little pieces that show up. The number one, first of all, you don't like about yourself. And then we kind of go, it's like, where's that coming from? It is always from the outside. It is always from, oh, when I was little, somebody said, da, da, da. Or my mom always says, or my teacher told me, or my brother told me. To me, it was my brother told me. Dumb. Dumb. And I have his face in my memory. It's like,
family is such a blessing. Oh, that's so fun. Yeah.
So it's it's to rewrite it. You got to know the
Yeah.
one that you're working with.
Yeah.
What are you working with? What is the one that you have already? I'm
Yeah.
ugly. I'm not pretty. Look at my nose. Like the
Yeah.
judgment about ourselves is like huge, and that follows us through life. So there's so much judgment in it. So first thing you do is just write it and check it out and look. And a lot of the times, as like switch spaces, give that paper to the other one. Okay, read it. How does it feel? It's like, oh my God, because when you're reading your own, but if you have a buddy. And it's great to have buddies when you do the course. It's like, okay, pass it to your buddy. Let them read it as if it was them. How do you feel about that person feeling like that about themselves? And it's like, not true. It's not true. It's not true. So you get to understand that it isn't true. Whatever you're saying, it's not real. It isn't. So that's how you get rid of the old story. Once you really understand, what am I saying? Why? That's not what I want to be. Because they have the tools to rewrite it and take it that way and follow that path instead of continuing to follow the path that they keep on taking, because it's not happy. And that's the gauge. That's what you know. It's like, it's not making me happy.
Yeah.
It's so simple. It's like, that's not making me happy. It's not making me happy to look at myself in the mirror every morning and say, God damn, you're ugly. It's like, no fun. So it's fun to rewrite your story. It's
so
fun.
will they then just write the story then how they would like it to be after that? Or how do you do that usually?
It's a lot about the feeling again. What makes you happy?
Yeah.
And we have examples. It's like, okay, how do you feel when you're happy? What are you doing when you're happy? Yeah. Everybody has a way of like, oh, I'm cooking, or I'm playing the music, or I'm listening to so-and-so, or I'm like, our bodies function with an emotion. Our emotions are there for a reason. They're to give us signs. It's like, oh, that's a good one. That I like that one. That makes me feel super good. So when we write it with all the stuff that really makes us feel super good. What is that going to do? We're going to start feeling much more empowered. Yes, I can do this. Of course I can. And then, little by little, you start getting to a place where you belong, which is where you came in when you were born.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah, I love that.
It's kind of like you realign to what it was supposed to be.
Yeah. And you're back to your full potential. That's
Exactly.
really amazing. So I want you to share something. You said something about handing it over to the neighbor and just see how they were feeling about themselves. It made me think of an experience I had when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and that was long before my awakening. I remember I was very nervous about exams, and I had I went to this course for people with anxiety, and there they asked me like, so do you expect yourself to know everything from the books when you're at an exam? I said, yes, of course. And then they said, and what about him over there? Do you expect him to know everything from the books when he's at exam? And I was like, no, that's unrealistic. I felt it in my heart, like, no, I couldn't possibly want him to know all that. It's not even possible. And I felt it was like this ache in my heart because I felt that was such a strong judgment upon me. So that I know that those are really powerful, and I really love you that you're also like helping people to see it in that way. And I feel that that's actually answering my next question already, which was about, do you have any recommendation if there's any teens who feel stuck around a certain? But I felt you already talked about that, about like really finding out what is the cause of this emotion, what is happening here. But do you have anything else?
Well, thank you for sharing that story. That's amazing. That is so true, because that's what happens. I do. I think, to me, the key is curiosity without judgment. Be curious about who you are without judging you. That is what they need to understand. There's huge amount of judgment going on inside. It's not our fault. That's just the way It happens. The more you look at social media, the more you judge that you are lesser than, and they are good, and though they got like 2 million followers and I only got a little bit, and it's like, oh, I'm nothing. So there's a lot of judgment. And if you start becoming curious, there is nothing wrong with wanting to be whatever they want to be. You want to be famous, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with anything if it comes from, that makes me happy. So understand that whatever makes you happy is what is right for you, and become curious when you are not feeling it. It's like, what's happening? It's like there's like this whole world behind the scenes inside of us that is happening. And it's like, but we are, they are, and we are pure love, and we can do whatever we want, and we can be happy. So just knowing that and understanding that in order to find out what is not making you happy, get curious. Just get curious. Find out, why am I feeling like that? What's happening? What's going on? But don't be judgmental about it. I think that is the basis of where we need to start.
I really love that. I really love where you brought this, because not only, one thing I just noticed when you're talking about, like, there's nothing wrong in wanting these big dreams, and I really love that, because I can imagine many teens sitting there and having parents that say, don't go for that dream, or don't go for that, and really understand that that's not the place that you should hold yourself back. You are really allowed to have any dream, but also, as you say, understand where it comes from. If it's like a pure heart's desire where you would really be so happy, and it would really be, but also I can imagine so many parents that like want to protect their children in a way from failure. That's how I imagine that's how they see them, but really misunderstood caring in a way, right? To really just like turn light out of some of the dreams that some teens have, because what they would really love is support, right? What we all would love is to be supported in our dreams, and decides when they're from the heart.
Yeah.
And really
absolutely.
Yeah. So that is what I really would like your perspective on, is also because I really love your energy around this. I feel so much freedom when you talk, like this openness and freedom and exploration, which I really, really like. And I feel that you could maybe guide us and guide the teens, and if they want to know more about spirituality and how to get into this, is there anything that they should pay attention to when they find like spiritual texts, or finding a guide? Because we can often use a guide in our awakening, another spiritual person who is further ahead on the path than we are, and what do you look for in a spiritual teacher when
well, in my experience, and I think that now there's a lot of personal development and spirituality. It's gotten to the point where it's open to everybody, and it's not weird like it used to be years ago. So that's fantastic. But I would say, just when I'm talking about it's all inside of you, that's what they need to remember. Nobody, no amazing spiritual teacher, like the biggest guru, is going to know what's best for you, ever. That, I think, if somebody says you have to do this because this is the best thing for you, that's not the right person. The right person would always guide you towards you, inside of you, because you get the answer, nobody else does. What is best for you, it's inside of you. Nobody else has it. So just, I think that's the best. It's not about following what the other person is doing, because there we go back to the same thing, but within the spirituality, which is, whoa, that's not supposed to happen. So learn from yourself. And the teachers can, I mean, they're amazing teachers. They can teach you how to breathe, can teach you through yoga, they can teach you. I mean, through anything, through music, through feeling, through, it's all about what's inside of you. So yeah, there's a lot, but just watch when somebody tells you that they know what is inside of you, because it's impossible.
Yeah, I really love that, because I feel that very strongly when you speak. Like, this is where we really need to assist the children and the teens in seeing, because we've just been pushed through this paradigm of the teacher knows best, right? So
Right.
when you're grown up, as most of us have been, going to school, going to kindergarten, whatever we've been in, we have been taught that the teacher knows what's right for you. The teacher knows what's right. They just know, they know the result. And that is so different when you find a spiritual teacher and when you get into this. So I really love what you said there around that they don't know the answer, and really to understand that that's where we're shifting into another way of being student,
Right.
of someone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's beautiful when they are curious about, because yes, you can go to a teacher to give you the tools.
Yeah.
A teacher will say like, yep, that's like what I'm teaching. But then your experience is yours, and what you're going to find, it's inside. And the feeling, I cannot feel for somebody else what they're feeling. It's just like, no, we can have empathy and feel a little bit, but the person, you're going to know immediately inside your own body is talking to you and say, ooh, that doesn't feel good. Or, I love that, I feel so happy. And so the learning how to get to that's the beauty. That's where you get, teachers, and but the one that is going to have the answers is you. So it's not beautiful. I think it's fascinating. I mean, like, to me,
I think it's so amazing and so different from what we're being taught in the first years of our lives. And that's completely okay. There's no judgment in there, but it's just something to pay attention to when you're shifting back into this more openness and a higher.
It's because when we're little, obviously our parents are doing the best they can to guide us to what they feel is the best for us. I mean, they love us and they're trying their best, and there's nothing wrong. There's, like what you just said, there's nothing wrong with it. But then when you get to a teen year and you go like, but it doesn't fit me, but it doesn't, it just doesn't, but I want to please my parents, but it doesn't. And it's really confusing when you get to that point. It really is. And
yeah, that's actually a really big thing. I feel a big shift for when you're getting teen and then later and into the adulthood. It's really just this feeling of letting the attachment of what your parents say go, because that's like shaped you so much, but it doesn't really have any importance anymore when you move away from home and move into your career and things like that. It doesn't really have any power over you, or
no. And you know what?
Just except for really, the one you're giving it yourself.
Right. I was going to say really, really quickly that sometimes they get stuck in trying to please the parents. But I'm a parent. I know what the most amazing feeling I get is when my kid is happy. So if it makes him unhappy to do what I think he should do, it doesn't work. And if he does what he wanted to do and I see him like super happy, that's going to make me happy. So that is something that eventually, I know sometimes you're not doing exactly what your parents wanted you to do because they think is the best thing for you. But if it makes you happy, and I'm not saying do everything your parents are saying to do, I'm just saying you got to listen to you. In the end, if you're happy, they are happy.
Yeah. That's really good to almost end with. I would say I need to say, if you want to get in contact with Ximena, we're going to leave her contact details below the video or the podcast, so you can contact her if you want to connect with her more. But just as the last question, I just would like to know if there's anything more you would like to share with us around this, around your work, about the future for teens, and
Um, I don't know. I just would like them to, I would just want to send a message to them to don't think that they're wrong. I want them to stop suffering for something that they shouldn't be suffering about. And they're suffering because they think that they are not okay, that they are not well, that they are strange, or they're judging themselves so much. I just wish and I hope that write it down, write your story, see what you're saying, what you're talking about, what you're telling yourself about you, and realize that it's just a story that was put on you, and then you're following like it was true.
Yeah.
True is only that you are perfect and that you're fine and that you're a loving person and you've been deviated. So realign. I hope we can do some of the trainings. I've done it a few times and I would love to do it more for teenagers. So that would be cool. We can do it.
We do it.
Let's do it. Let's do like a Zoom call and then get everybody and we do the workshop. That would be super
That
cool.
could be amazing, Ximena.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about that. And you will hear more from us when we have that ready. Whether it's going to be in some months or in a year, we'll see. We're working and continue to work on the platform, Helen and I. So that's really amazing. Thank you so much, Ximena, for being with us today. It has been so exciting to hear about your work, and I really loved all the nuggets of wisdom you had for the teens who were with us today or will be with us sometimes in the future. They're really listening to this. Okay, so thank you, Ximena.
Guys so much. This is beautiful. I love what you're doing for the teens. Any way we can help, we're always there. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome.